The first award is for the town of Bradford and the restoration and rehabilitation of the Bement Covered Bridge with Hoyle, Tanner and Associates, Inc. and Neil H. Daniels, Inc. This award recognizes the commitment of the small town of Bradford, population 1650, to save a rare resource, develop a comprehensive rehabilitation plan, and implement creative engineering solutions to meet 21st century needs. The Bement Bridge was constructed over the east branch of the Warner River in 1854, following a design patented by U.S. Army Colonel Stephen H. Long of Hopkinton, New Hampshire. It is one of only 4 surviving long trusses in New Hampshire and 25 remaining in the United States. Using a model of the bridge trusses, the design team developed an innovative plan to overhaul the historic structure. Goals were to minimize loss of historic materials, make in-kind replacements for members who damaged or lacked historic integrity, and add new reversible structural reinforcing members. Our committee appreciated the team's attention to detail. Work began with moving the bridge off of its abutments. As the timber frame repairs progressed, rot was discovered in both expected and unexpected places, requiring more work than anticipated. In addition, the stones of the entire north abutment had shifted over time, putting the stability of the entire structure at risk. The engineers designed a new dry-laid stone abutment that closely replicated the characteristics of the south abutment using stone from a local quarry. Federal, state, and local funds covered the $1.65 million cost. The bridge is now more useful than before, with an increased live load limit and an expected service life that will enable current and future generations to use and enjoy it for a long time. Townspeople, visitors, and others celebrated the bridge's reopening and welcome its many contributions to community life, visual, practical, and historic.
Thank you very much. Byron, why don't you introduce the other of this pair?
Certainly, Jennifer. Town of Newport for restoration and rehabilitation of the Newport Opera House and Courthouse, with Newport Opera House Association, design construction team listed here, and funders including the CDFA and LCHIP. The robust architectural legacy of Newport's 19th century mill history includes this prominent Main Street landmark, built in 1886 in place of an earlier courthouse and town hall that burned. Like many town halls of this period, the new building included a grand second floor performance space. Today, judiciary services for Sullivan County occupy the first floor. Needed restoration and new design solutions to continue to function and enhance its role in the community. 3 years ago, work began using a roadmap assessment of the building. The local Opera House Association, which produces plays and engages other entertainment, moved all its costumes and props out of their storage space to clear the way for construction to begin. The first phase included a new roof on the entire structure. A year later, the team restored the clock and clock tower and the historic stained glass windows. Exterior masonry was cleaned, repaired, and repointed as well. Sound attenuation was a critical component of replacing the worn-out Opera House floor. The stage sits directly above the judge's bench. Lighting was upgraded to improve energy efficiency. Accessory rooms were repurposed into Opera House offices and storage. A window opening was cut into a wall to eliminate an awkward serving counter, and matching moldings added. This project clearly demonstrates the town's commitment to its downtown. The renewed Opera House is now better poised to resume its role as a lively regional hub for theater, concerts, and shows, and to serve Newport people and their many social traditions, such as school graduations and crowning a queen at the Newport Winter Carnival.
Hear, hear. So I think we have Joseph Bickia with us, who's an engineer with Hoyle Tanner, who worked on the bridge in Bradford, as well as Hunter Reesberg, the town manager of Newport. Joseph, do you want to say a little bit about any takeaways from this project to share with others?
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Jennifer. First, I want to thank the Preservation Alliance for their efforts on recognizing those great projects that saving those historic structures. So this was definitely one of my favorite projects. I've been doing work on covered bridges for the past 18 years or so, and a lot of larger structure than this one. This was only 73 feet long, but it was definitely one of my favorite covered bridge projects that I've worked in the region. And the number one reason for that is essentially the great team that we had on this project, from the town side, from the consultant side on our side, and also with permitting agencies such as New Hampshire DOT, DHR, and basically just working through the process to complete the project within the time limits and also within the budgets that were set before we actually started the project. So definitely some lesson learned on this project. Just like on every project, you're always going to learn something new, no matter how long you've done it and how well you've done it.
Yeah.
So one of my lessons that I learned was to definitely give the contractor more room to construct the project. We don't want to constrict them with the area that they want to get the work done. You want to make sure that you have enough area, enough of the area permitted for the appropriate agencies so they could actually complete the project.
Got it.
As it goes within your rehab project, you're always going to have unforeseen conditions. So we did have a few of them, but we did have enough contingencies on the contract that we're able to keep them within the scope of the project. And overall, the project came $32,000 under budget, which is
$32,000. That's good. I'm gonna thank you so much for sharing that. With all these projects, we'll look for additional opportunities to share the stories, because all of them are worthy of long conversations. Hunter, I think you're with us a nugget or two. We just heard about certainly partnerships and the complicated nature of these projects. Is he with us? Well, maybe we'll come back to Hunter. I know we talked yesterday and he said the level of activity has just accelerated again with the building. And when he's working in the town hall part of the building, he hears all the kids coming in and all the people coming to activities. And it's a great sound for a great level of activity for this well-preserved project. Let's move on to two projects that are really around rare resources, really special resources, the kind we can't imagine our state without. Rick, we'll go back to you for the first one.
Okay, the next project up is the Lower Gilmanton Community Club for the rehabilitation of the Kelly Corner Schoolhouse. Partnering with Gilmanton School District number 79, the building's owner, and an incredible design, construction, planning team and group of financial supporters listed here. This award recognizes a 5-year volunteer-led effort to save and rehabilitate Gilmanton's last remaining publicly owned one-room schoolhouse. The pandemic, rain, humid days, and learning how to write grants and ask for money did not deter the project leaders and the club's members. Established in 1778 and designated as school number 1, the Kelly Corner School was used for over 160 years, serving Lower Gilmanton, the first village in Gilmanton to be settled. The adjacent William Webster Memorial Forest holds other remnants of early settlement. The project began with listing to the New Hampshire State of Historic Places in 2008 and naming to the New Hampshire Preservation Alliance's 7 to Save in 2010. These accomplishments by its stewards, the Lower Gilmanton Community Club, catalyzed enthusiasm for the much needed rehabilitation of the schoolhouse and its surviving detached 2-stall privy. Armed with a building assessment, the group launched into a multi-year effort that began with an archaeological assessment and regrading the site to address major drainage issues. Work included sills, siding, front door, restoration of 9 windows, chimney upgrades and interior stovepipe installed to code, interior surfaces such as wainscoting and walls, underground utilities, all new wiring, additional outlets, and conversion from fuse box to 200 amp service. In the kitchen, the iron sink was restored and deteriorated counters were replaced. All interior walls, trim, and ceiling were repainted using historic colors. The now safe and secure Kelly Corner Schoolhouse is available for dinners, events, and meetings. It will host the annual Lower Gilmanton Fall Harvest Dinner and be part of the Gilmanton Historical Society's annual 4th grade study of New Hampshire history. New partnerships are envisioned with Gilmanton school educators and students. Thoughtful planning, excellent preservation strategies, and team enthusiasm contributed to bringing this little building back to life.
Wonderful. Byron, next up.
Well, this is a fun one for me. Pulaski Monument Committee and the City of Manchester for restoration and stewardship of the Pulaski Monument. With Daedalus Incorporated, Cassidy Brothers, Forge Incorporated, and many other partners. This award recognizes the high-quality preservation efforts and stewardship of the monument to Brigadier General Kazimierz Pulaski, a Polish nobleman and cavalry officer who volunteered to serve in the American Revolution, a hero who became known as the father of the American cavalry. The Equestrian Statue stands in a downtown park at the center of the early 20th century Polish-American immigrant community. The park was renamed for Pulaski in 1933. Funding for the monument came from the Works Progress Administration and private donors, and the sculptor was Lucien Hippolyte Gosselin, an accomplished Manchester artist, Franco-American, and instructor at the Manchester Institute of Arts and Sciences. And I apologize, Aurora, if I mangled that name. The bronze statue, slightly larger than life size, was cast in bronze in Boston, and its base was cut from a 42-ton block of granite quarried in Concord. In the decades after the monument's dedication in 1938, Pulaski Day grew to be a major annual event of colorful parades, music, and formal ceremonies. Volunteers Aurora Eaton and Patricia Howard led this $80,000 initiative to restore the statue's bronze finish and plaques, clean the base, and rehabilitate the iron fence around it. Their team carried out a high-quality planning, outreach, and fundraising effort, and they selected and oversaw a skilled conservation team. The Manchester Garden Club added finishing touches with cleanup and new landscape plantings. Several city commissions, the Currier Museum of Art, and the Manchester Historic Association all endorsed the project. The Pulaski Monument Committee came together to support the effort. Yet to come, interpretive signage in the park and production of a commemorative booklet. Fundraising continues with remaining money dedicated to ongoing maintenance of the Pulaski Monument. With the war in Ukraine and many other challenges across the world, our committee wanted to call out the wonderful themes of patriotism, national spirit, and intersecting immigrant stories underlying this story of today's partnership and volunteerism.
Thank you. Another great pairing of awards. I know we have Paula Gilman with us from the Kelly Corner School Project in Gilmanton, co-leader there with her trusted sidekick, Sue Leclerc, and Aurora Eaton, who is the co-chair of the volunteer effort on the wonderful statue project, and Mark Gomez from the city of Manchester is with us as well. So Paula, I'll start with you. Just a few words here about this fabulous project and anything you'd like to share with the audience about what takeaways.
Well, first of all, my twin is Sue Kelly
Oh, sorry.
It's okay, but it's AKA Kelly Corner Schoolhouse. That's important. I think one of the first things we learned was passion is to be exuberant. Your passion, you want to know what your passion is. And if you can transfer that to others, they're going to jump right on. And we had an enormous amount of support. You need to be patient and flexible because of unpredictable weather, contractors not being able to make it on time. One of the other things was to make certain that you raise more money than you anticipate needing, because we ran into a couple little spots where we needed more money and we got it. Media, Facebook, website, thermometer. We did a thermometer where every $2,000 we raised the thermometer, and people would go by and they go, whoa, look at that, look at that. And just keep posting. We posted photos weekly for the progress that we made, the contractors that worked, and we shouted out to each and every one of our contractors on Facebook, letting them know how much we appreciated them. Don't hesitate to ask for donations in kind. You'd be surprised at what response that you'll get. It's amazing how generous people are. And keep track of everything. Make a copy of every receipt, every check, everything. We did Excel spreadsheets for donations and for expenses. And
That's
one of
a
the
great point.
I mean, it's amazing. We have not only on a computer have we kept track of it, but we have binders with photos.
Yeah. I love the themes about strategy. Well, your point about passion and exuberance, and then strategy and attention to detail. I had everything. I think there's an iPhone user maybe that needs to mute. And just hoping that everybody who's not speaking can also mute. We're trying to get rid of the reverb that I'm sure others of you are hearing too. Well, thank you, Paula. And I know there's a lot more. Turning to our colleagues in Manchester. Aurora, I'm not sure who's going first. You or Mark?
I'm doing the Concord.
Unexpected. Good.
Sorry, are you going to Concord or are you talking about Manchester? Sorry.
No, just finishing up with Manchester. Mr. Gomez or Aurora, are you there just to say a few words before we move on to?
Yes, yes, this is Aurora. I guess I will say a few words. Okay, I just want to say that this has been a really tremendous project, and part of our challenge was trying to do a public-private partnership with Manchester, which is not a huge metropolis, but we do have a lot of red tape and various levels of government. And it took us actually, Pat Howard, I would like to say hi to Pat. I'm so happy she's here. And she and I just went on a walking tour. I was giving a walking tour downtown, and we looked up at the statue and said, Pat said, don't you think that Mr. Pulaski needs some help? And I said, yes. And she said, do you want to raise some money and help him out? And I said, oh, sure. And it took us quite a long time to get it going.
And the rest is history, right?
The rest is history. It took about a year just to get through the red tape. But once things started rolling, it was really fantastic. And I am so appreciative, especially of the Polish community in Manchester, who had such a deep connection to this park and this statue, because they were so enthusiastic and really helped us to get the word out and gave us a lot of support. And also a lot of the private donations came from that community. Plus, there were several different granting agencies and people who were interested in the Revolutionary War, not just the Polish community, but also people who had a greater interest in American history and Revolutionary War and Pulaski. And so it all just came together, and it just really all happened at one meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen in Manchester. We had raised about half the money, and there was just this thing that happened with the aldermen where they just decided to give us the other half.
That's exciting.
which is really hard to I don't even know how we did it. It was Pat was always saying we should write down how we did it, and I can't even explain it. It just happened. I think
great.
because the enthusiasm, that's the one lesson I think we all have, and we all have to share is enthusiasm does bring the support eventually, and just having faith in your own project. So I just want to really thank the people at the two Polish churches here in Manchester and the greater Polish community for their support, and everybody else who has donated either money or their enthusiasm or
Yeah.
in kind, and also the city of Manchester and Mark Gomez and everybody in the Parks Department who made this happen.
Well, let me turn it over to Mr. Gomez, Mark Gomez from the city, just for a minute, if you can, before we shift. Anything you wanted to add?
Yeah,
Great
I'd like to
partnership.
add that, one of the great things about the Pulaski Monument restoration is that it ended up inspiring additional renovation work at Pulaski Park. This included a new basketball court, funded in large part by our local Kiwanis Club, beautiful new landscaping courtesy of the Manchester Garden Club, new benches and chairs along the park's walkways, a new bicycle fix-it station, and repainted light bulbs with new LED fixtures. So Pulaski Park now looks like a brand new park that provides a proper setting for its historical centerpiece, which is the magnificent statue of General Casimir Pulaski.
Well said. Thank you so much for that. That catalytic effect is so important. Thank you for sharing those nuggets of information. And here we go onward. Next, we're going to the capital city, Concord, with two projects right around the corner from each other. Rick?
Yes. The next award recognizes the Women's Club of Concord for the rehabilitation and stewardship of Chamberlain House in Concord, with the design construction team listed here, as well as LCHIP and many other funders. This award recognizes the work of a small, highly committed board of directors who revived the Queen Anne style home that serves as their headquarters. It is the last remaining residence in a 2-block stretch near Main Street that once held varied examples of period homes. The house was bequeathed to the club by Nellie Chamberlain, a longtime member who succumbed to the Spanish flu in 1919. The club has used it for meetings and gatherings, and the upper floors provided apartments for single women. Membership dwindled in the early 2000s and maintenance was put on the back burner. But now, about a decade ago, leaders issued a rallying cry to repair the house and recruit new members. The response was heartening and the restoration plans took off. Guided by a new board-approved strategic plan and a thorough building assessment, the project team completed major repairs to secure the building envelope from water infiltration, address systems, and prevent further deterioration. Work included regrading, foundation repointing, reconstruction of the rear porch, repointing and rebuilding the chimneys, exterior clapboard and shingle repair, and window restoration. Inside, electrical service was upgraded and a new natural gas furnace was installed after Concord Steam went out of business. Original materials were retained or replaced in kind when necessary. The house was repainted in colors appropriate to the Queen Anne period. Looking ahead, making the property more accessible is a priority, not only from a barrier-free perspective, but also to assist in attracting more members and visitors from a wider group, including women of color and those in the LGBTQ community. Over its long history, speakers have included Jane Addams, Booker T. Washington, Billie Jean King, and Madeleine Albright. This revived landmark shines bright once again and enables the club to continue its commitment to empowering women, offering scholarships, and exploring social issues.
Wonderful project. Byron?
Thank you. Concord Coalition to End Homelessness for rehabilitation and reuse of 10 Green Street in Concord, with many private and public sector supporters shown here on the screen. The award recognizes and thanks the nonprofit coalition, their design construction team, and many community partners for an admirable reuse project that provides homes to formerly homeless people. As the nominator noted, the results show how enhancing the character and features of a notable property not only adds significant value to the community, but to the lives of some of its most vulnerable residents. The historic 2,500 square foot, two-story Victorian home built in 1880 had most recently been used for county office space. But the rooms were dated, the building run down, and a full rehab was in order. The building, excuse me, was converted into 4 one-bedroom residential apartment units, one of which is accessible. Work included restoring the front porches, replacement of windows that were sympathetic to the originals, and overall retention of the Italianate detailing that is inherent to this significant resource. The exterior clapboard and gingerbread trim were prepped and repainted in period-appropriate colors. Inside, to the highest degree possible, original window positions were retained, and doors, trim work, marble fireplace surrounds, built-in cabinetry, and the grand staircase were preserved. 4 local businesses each adopted an apartment and supplied all the furnishings, decorations, dishes, and other supplies, right down to soaps in the bathroom. This was the first housing the Concord Coalition to End Homelessness has purchased, part of their Housing First initiative, based on a nationwide model for ending chronic homelessness. It is centered on the belief that everyone can achieve stability in permanent housing, and that stable housing is the foundation for achieving other health or social service goals. We hope this project can inspire many more efforts like it.
Hooray, another great project. During this program, we have Nadine Miller, who's a board member at the Women's Club of Concord, and Ellen Groh, who's the executive director of the Concord Coalition to End Homelessness. Nadine, Ellen, these are complicated projects with wonderful outcomes for sure. Anything on sort of why these projects matter or things that you learned along the way that you'd like to share with folks? How about Nadine, why don't you go first? We'll stay in order.
Sure. So I'm sure some of you saw the photographs prior to rehabilitation. And I would say when I would drive along Pleasant Street more than 10 years ago, I always thought that building was rather intimidating and wasn't sure what was behind those doors. But once we started doing work and removing the trees and repainting and really sprucing it up, we've had so many positive responses, not just from membership, but from the general public in Concord. And that has really increased our rentals that we have downstairs and membership as well. And so that's been a nice benefit of what we've been doing. And that really, by the ability to finish up the house, we still have some work to do, obviously, with accessibility. But that helps us focus more on membership and also on the mission that we have to empower women. And so during COVID, we had a wonderful group that we worked with called the Masqueraders, who hand sewn thousands of masks before they were really readily available to the public. So it's nice to be able to kind of finish our focusing on the house and now work more toward our mission, which is so important.
Thank you for saying that. And here's another mission historic preservation combination with Ellen. Ellen, do you want to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you very much for this award. And I will say our agency is focused on ending homelessness, and this just happened to be the house that was available for us to try to convert. So I have to take my hat off to Warren Street Architects and Joe Spain Construction, because they are the ones who figured out how do we do our mission, which is house people and preserve this beautiful building. So they really, they did all of that. And they did an extraordinary job. And also just thanks to the whole community, because this would not have happened without the support of so many different people in the community and agencies and individuals. So it was a team effort, and the people in there are loving it. So it was an utter success on all sides.
Well, thanks so much. That's a wonderful project, and thank you for that recognition of your partners in the community for sure, which I think is interwoven into all of these projects. A lot of people to celebrate for sure. We're going to turn to a trio now, 3 different kinds of projects that have similarities and differences. They all have great community development impacts. And Rick, I'm going to let you start off that triplet.
Okay, the next award recognizes the Mill Hollow Heritage Association for revitalization and rehabilitation of Chase's Mill in Alsted, with Ingram Construction and DB Architects, Robert Brown and Juliana Stevens, Dan and Joyce Curl, Margaret Chase Perry, LCHIP, the Putnam Foundation, Northern Borders Regional Commission, and other generous supporters. Brimming with deeply committed people, the power of place, and the power of learning, this project took 5 years, $750,000, and hundreds of hours of volunteer labor. Chase's Mill anchors a village that grew up around a common feature that drew settlement to rural New Hampshire, a stream with its significant head or fall of water. This mill was built on the site of a much earlier dam and mills at a time when water power had largely been replaced by steam and gasoline power. Nevertheless, Hartley Dennett built this mill between 1917 and 1919 and installed 2 19th century turbines that still function today. His stepson and successor, Heman Chase, operated the mill into the 1980s, welcoming children who came to play and learn woodworking. After Chase's death, the vacant structure deteriorated. Foundation stones shifted and underpinning beams and roof rafters rotted. The state's Dam Safety Bureau mandated repairs to maintain the dam's low hazard status and set deadlines for compliance. In 2012, the nonprofit Mill Hollow Heritage Association was founded to save and reuse the building. Armed with a building assessment and a deeply committed leadership team, they embarked on a rehabilitation that would honor the evolution and character of the mill, continue the Dennett Chase tradition, and make it safe and welcoming. The stone foundation, some of it likely dating from the mid-1700s, was stabilized first. Next, where in-kind wood replacement was needed, the team secured timbers locally and branded those components with an unobtrusive date stamp. Shingle siding was replaced, windows were repaired, and the building's original dormers were rebuilt. Rehabilitation of the dam and hydropower was a fundamental component. Today, a small turbine powers a simple system that illuminates the lower 2 floors of the mill, demonstrating sustainable green energy. A larger turbine turns a system of belts and pulleys that illustrate more powerful uses of water power. In the mill's shed, a dismantled 3rd turbine shows visitors how this technology worked. Every stage of rehabilitation engaged more neighbors, members of the Dennett and Chase families, and people who had been students of Heman Chase. A series of highly engaging virtual programs reached audiences across the country during the pandemic, doubling the mill's base of supporters. In 2021, the mill hosted summer classes in timber framing, tool sharpening, felting, using a lathe, and tile making. The Mill Hollow Heritage Association is inspiring new generations of students and helps sustain commitment to preservation-related trades. The Preservation Alliance is honoring the Mill Hollow Heritage Association with the Elizabeth Durfee Hengen Award, which it bestows from time to time for excellence in preservation planning, education and advocacy in honor of its former chairman, who embodies those commitments and abilities. This impressive venture has brought an endangered historic mill back to life and linked its heritage with future educational and community development ventures in a model that we hope others might emulate.
Fabulous. So now we're going to go from one southwestern corner of the state up north. Byron.
Northern Forest Center for Revitalization and Rehabilitation of the Parker J. Noyes Building. with the town of Lancaster, Taproot Farm and Environmental Education Center, and an incredible design construction team and group of funders. This $3.2 million rehabilitation of this 11,000 square foot building into 6 market rate apartment and first floor retail use is an outstanding example of redevelopment in a rural community. We hope the nonprofit developer's example and lessons learned about preservation strategies and positive impacts will inspire many other projects across the region. The grand proportions and Italianate exterior of the Parker J. Noyes building have anchored a prominent corner on Lancaster's Main Street since 1910. The building once housed the largest pharmaceutical manufacturing facility in the country. The sugar-coated pill was invented here. But the building had lost much of its stature after being converted to ground floor retail use and was largely vacant when the Northern Forest Center decided to acquire and rehabilitate it. Their well-designed process included an emphasis on early planning, an advisory board, extensive community outreach, ongoing communications with stakeholders and supporters, and a local construction manager, Garland Mills. Nearly 30 companies and more than 80 tradespeople contributed their skill and expertise. Historic materials were preserved wherever possible. Before beginning construction, the team cataloged and removed nearly 50 artifacts found inside the building and incorporated some into the new space. A second floor hallway is lined with salvaged wainscoting. Salvaged and restored wood flooring was reused at the building and apartments entrances. Exposed wooden beams are found on the 3rd floor. The tin ceiling on the 1st floor was restored. Exterior clapboards were salvaged and historic doors were reused for the bathrooms in each apartment. When the foundation of the rear part of the building was found to be nothing but rubble, the team jacked up the 3-story building and poured a proper foundation. When an open ceiling revealed fire-charred beams, the team brought engineers back to the site to ensure the building's structural integrity. Paired, bracketed cornices and storefront display windows replicated the original building exterior. This project has attracted statewide acclaim and has already inspired 3 other Main Street projects. In the words of town manager Ben Gatejens Olson, the Parker J. Noyes renovation has encouraged people to fix up their own properties and drawn people to Main Street. That block is the heart of our downtown, and these investments are bringing back the vibrancy of our North Country community.
Wonderful. Thank you, Byron. Rick, what's up next? We're zigzagging across the state and coming back down into the Central Lakes area.
The next up is the Belknap Economic Development Corporation for outstanding revitalization and rehabilitation of the Colonial Theater block in Laconia, with critical partnership with the City of Laconia, Rusty McClear, and many, many more. This project is one of the largest historic preservation projects in state history. Saving the Colonial was a $14.4 million redevelopment project that revived a community performing arts space, 4 commercial storefronts, and new apartments in the heart of downtown Laconia. The Colonial opened its doors with great fanfare in 1914. Its interior was elaborately detailed, and its grand drape featured a richly painted Venetian scene. In the 1930s, following a national trend, it shifted from live performances to motion pictures. And in the 1980s, it was converted to a multiplex. Fortunately, rather than gutting the interior, the owners at the time simply installed partitions that made separate viewing rooms and saved much of the historic original detail and ornamentation. The Colonial closed for good in 2002, with its stunning interior still largely intact. After a 7 to Save listing in 2010 and strong voices advocating for rehabilitation, the city and the Belknap Economic Development Council took the bold step of partnering in 2015 to purchase, renovate, and reopen the theater. Their 6-year effort has come to fruition with a stunning revival of the historic space and modern amenities to ensure the comfort and viability of it for many years to come. The 750-seat theater has been rebuilt with modern technology and accessibility upgrades. The woodwork, original gilded plaster ornaments, frescoes, high coppered ceiling decorated with classical motifs, and a 1914 medallion centered above the stage have all been painstakingly restored. In other spaces, an elevator was added, stairways upgraded. The finished project is really 3 distinct mixed-use developments, rehabbing the theater and renovating both former apartments and commercial units. An amazing revival with more than 10 government and private funding partners and more than 300 community leaders investing in this project. The renovated theater and housing/commercial spaces are on their way to driving economic activity in downtown Laconia and in the region.
3 cheers, 3 cheers. I understand we do have representatives from these 3 projects to say a few words. President of the Mill Hollow Heritage Association, Jim Gruber, Kelly Short from the Northern Forest Center, and Justin Slattery with the Belknap EDC, president or executive director, leader of that great group that did the Colonial. Jim, do you want to go first?
Sure, thank you. I'm just really honored to be associated with this project. I'm a latecomer, so I can't take much credit for all the early work on it. My reflection on this project was, how did a town with only 2,000 people and a village of a few hundred people were able to take this on? And I've been working, my background is in leadership, so I looked at the leadership and I came to the conclusion that their approach of kind of collaborative leadership that looked at both heart and mind was what made it work. Yes, they brought a lot of really experts in, knowledgeable architects, engineers, things like that, damn smart people doing the dam, but they also had a great amount of heart. And the heart itself was because the history, the last 100-year history of the owners, Heman Chase, Edith Chase, I knew them years ago. Their heart built a community that was so strong that when they started reaching out for support, what's amazing is they now have 900 individuals on their mailing list of friends and supporters, family members, people who learned woodworking as kids are now active on the board or in other activities. So it's basically a case study of what happens when you have heart and mind and bring the community together with leadership.
Wonderfully said. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Kelly, are you with us for the
Yes,
noise? Here we are.
I'm here.
Thanks.
I want to start by acknowledging that I'm standing in for my colleague, Julie Renaud Evans. She couldn't attend tonight, but she is the one who has masterminded this fabulous project for the last 3+ years and just done a tremendous job. And on behalf of Julie and all of us, we want to say thank you and how much we appreciate being recognized for the work that's gone into this building and the results, as well as thanking the incredible team that some of whom were mentioned, Garland Mill as our project manager and Alba Architect as did the design plan for bringing this building back from its near state of ruin to being a feature for Main Street. And also it was mentioned, our financial support has been just tremendous from all across the state. We have more than 40 sources of funding, which is why we could not begin to list them and give credit where credit is due. But we have individuals who've made impact investments in the project, government grants, state and federal tax credits, businesses, foundations, individuals, donor advised funds, and then hundreds of individuals who have given as well. So it's just been a really tremendous project. And we're just grateful for the recognition.
Well deserved, well deserved. Justin from the Belknap EDC.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Jennifer. First of all, we really want, on behalf of the organization, we greatly appreciate this recognition from the Preservation Alliance. You've been a great friend.
Uh-oh, you cut out.
And partner. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I apologize for that. So I greatly, I just wanted to note how greatly we appreciate the support of so many. I know I know it's on the call, Jeannie Forster was on the call, and she's one of our directors as well. And I think on behalf of our directors and our board and our team, it really truly was a team effort with many partners, like the city of Laconia and Rusty McClear, a local developer here in the Lakes region throughout the state. Our architectural team, Jared Gilmanton, I see him on the call, Bonnet Page and Stone, our construction manager, Risk Frost Shumway, our engineers, obviously a multi-million-dollar, multifaceted, a lot of moving parts project. And so it just, we really appreciate this and the Historic Preservation Office and Ben Wilson's team. We're just very happy to see the project come online, and it's really off to a great start. Almost every weekend, there's musical and performing arts happening in the theater, and our other pieces of the projects that are referenced, like the Rusty McClear's condos and the commercial units are bustling with activity as we enter the spring. So we greatly appreciate the recognition, and it's good to see you all. And thank you again.
Good. Bustling is good. Well, thanks to the teams on all three of these for your amazing work. And speaking of amazing, we're going to close the 2022 awards, this program today, this announcement event, by talking about two outstanding individuals. So back to Rick.
The first recognition is to John Schnitzler for excellence in preservation practice and leadership. This award recognizes John Schnitzler for his distinguished accomplishments in preserving important historic buildings in the Seacoast area, his positive influence on clients, and his impact on both students and colleagues. To quote from the nomination for this award, John is an unassuming, highly intelligent and discerning craftsman. He is also a consummate artisan, a skilled diagnostician of architectural evidence, and a person who has quietly contributed great treasure to our understanding of the buildings of Piscataqua. John came to Strawberry Bank as a young apprentice in the mid-1970s and worked with former master carpenter Norman Clark. He showed a great aptitude for building restoration and served as a preservation carpenter overseeing the care and restoration of the museum's incredible collection of museum houses. As you probably know, Strawberry Bank boasts houses that depict 300 plus years of architectural and social evolutions, with structures that link visitors, residents, and scholars to the people who lived on the Portsmouth waterfront from 1695 to 1954. Beyond that, he has tended to the needs of many of the important historic houses in and around Portsmouth: the state-owned Wentworth Coolidge House, the Moffat Ladd House, Wentworth Gardner, as well as many privately owned properties. Colleagues have deep respect for John's keen abilities as an artisan and as a highly observant diagnostician of the evolution of old buildings. Retired state architectural historian James Garvin shared this example from their recent collaboration at the Tobias Lear House. The house had evolved from a circa 1740 center chimney hall and parlor two-story dwelling into a two-chimney, two-room deep roofed Georgian mansion of the 1760s. With his keen eye, John was able to differentiate between the 1740 joinery from that of the 1760s, to clarify the evolution of the building and to restore the structure impeccably for its new private owner and its preservation easement holder. John's forensic abilities with building styles and construction methods gives him an uncanny ability to precisely explain a building's history and are matched by his expertise in carrying out appropriate restoration for the building. Moreover, he is widely acknowledged as a great teacher who immediately puts his students at ease. He is generous in sharing his many talents with dozens of colleagues and carpenters that he has worked with over the years. This award celebrates all that. John Schnetzler is a treasure who is setting an impeccable standard for the preservation movement in New Hampshire and offering an inspiring example to the next generation of craftsmen.
Hear, hear. And one more exciting award. Byron?
Richard Rick Gettis for excellence in preservation practice and leadership. While moving buildings to extend or change their use isn't as common as it was before the 19th century industrial revolution, it's still an essential function for the historic preservation movement. This award honors the breadth of experience and record of accomplishment of Richard Gettis of Gettis Building Movers. Nominators also emphasized Rick's generosity, can-do problem-solving spirit, and commitment. When the historic Epsom Meeting House needed to be moved or faced demolition, Rick jumped in. On an early winter weekend morning in 2007, the team brought the building safely east along Route 4 in a short period of time to minimize traffic disruption and utility pole management costs. In 2020, Gettis and his team moved another endangered building, the 200-ton Victorian Gale School, across 1,200 feet of new road to its new location. The difficult terrain included a 17% downhill grade. Both of these properties are now on their way with new investment and uses. Just some of the many, many other historic preservation projects that benefited from Rick and his team include the Folsom Tavern at the American Independence Museum in Exeter, the relocation of 88 Lowell Street in Manchester, the city's first high school, the Livery Building in Sunapee Harbor, and the Parker J. Noyes Building in Lancaster, which you just heard about. Testimonials from historical nonprofits, towns, and private building owners invariably include words like honesty, efficiency, expertise, diligence, and good workmanship. Many thanks to Rick for his above and beyond specialized work that has helped save scores of important historic buildings in New Hampshire and beyond.
What a set. Before we close, we wanted to give these two individuals a chance to say a little something in response to these awards. They can say whatever they want. I did ask them the question, sort of, what advice would you give for someone in the preservation field about what it takes, or what were some unexpected benefits for this sort of work? So, but you can say whatever you want. John, would you like to go first as we stay in order? I know he's here. John, unmuting. Oops, I did the wrong Laura.
There you go.
There
Okay.
we go.
Okay, you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Hey,
Yeah.
John.
It's wow, it's quite the honor. I appreciate everything you've done. I've always wondered if anybody really paid attention to all the kind of things I've been doing and work been involved with, but I guess apparently everybody has been watching. So I do appreciate that. And thanks, Laura, for the help on the IT. I will answer one question you folks gave me, question number one about what I could give someone in advice who wants to be in the preservation related field, what they need to do. I've said this for my whole career to students and interns and people that work for me. Love this thing. Be diligent and just go everywhere. Learn everything you possibly can, because it's a hard thing to learn. It's a hard thing to be taught. You've got to go out and kind of find it by taking workshops everywhere you can, and try to be involved with all the great people that are out there. That's kind of how I came about all this. Fortunately, I was at Strawberry Bank, so I was, I was subject to running into a lot of these great people like Candy, Garvin, the Nylanders, and many, many more. So you need to just be broad and read everything you can find and talk to everybody. The biggest thing I ever did that I think everyone should do is every project you see going on, stop. If it's good or bad, stop and talk to the contractor and try to work your way into the project just to see the building. You learn so much when people take things apart or do whatever they're doing. So that's what my advice would be to anyone who wants to do this.
Yeah. Well, I love the themes of learning from others, and you've certainly directly or indirectly taught so many. Thank you so much for that. And just your,
welcome.
Sounds like insatiable love for investigation and learning even more and instilling that in other people. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you need a little passion.
Which has come up multiple times today, hasn't it? And problem solving and patience. Rick, there's a little bit you'd like to share before we close today. Thank you for all of your great effort over spanning a decades now. We have Rick Gettis, not the other Rick.
He's muted. He's muted.
Go ahead.
Am I in now? Can you hear me now?
We can. Thanks so much.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank the Preservation Alliance to start with for getting this award. I don't know if people know, but I sold the business a year ago, so I'm now semi-retired. Did work several days last week and worked all weekend moving a big boat up from Sunapee. But I guess the very first thing I would say to anyone getting into it, in my type of line, is putting a team together. And I've been very, very fortunate for the last 15 years. I've had the same 3 guys working with me, and they work limitless hours. And it's not unusual for us to get a call on a Wednesday, as we did on the Lancaster project, that we have problems. How fast can you get here, Rick? And I would often say to my crew, can you guys come in on Saturday? These people are putting this project together. If we don't step in, they're behind schedule. And I've been great to have a team with me that has worked that way. And I've learned over the years that it's not only my team, but the team of everybody. Most of these projects are fundraising is involved, there are committees involved. And it's not unusual to start a project
just are asking for trouble
and go for several years before the project actually starts because of the fundraising and the organization and everything else.
Elizabeth.
Somebody, excuse me, there's some extra noise going on. I just wanted to let Rick finish. Wonderful points.
And the last thing for someone in my line is you have to have a wife that's understanding, because it wasn't unusual that I would say, planning to be home, have an emergency, I'm heading someplace else. But one of the biggest benefits that I have found in this business, and I'm sure Rick would have said the same thing, is the people that you get to meet. Everybody that does this type of project has passion. And many, many of these people all over New England are now friends of mine that I could call on a moment's notice, and they would all be willing to help me out, from doing the Callahan Tunnel toll booths on the Big Dig that were another project that had to be done immediately, to doing the mill building in Alstead. We did that project also, but those are people now that I consider friends that I work with for on a regular basis. And it's great to know that you're part of history, that these buildings have been saved because you were able to do something. So to me, it's been, a great life being able to do it and being part of it all.
well, beautiful sentiments there from both of you, inspiring ones about and the people and the connections and the teamwork that it takes to make these projects happen. And you both have been so generous and so committed in so many different ways and are certainly leaving New Hampshire communities and the next generation of workers, you know, that much better because of everything you're still continuing to do. I know you're not done yet, for sure. I know we could talk to all of you for a lot longer, but I will turn to a wrap up and say a few thank yous. We're ready to do that. I wanted to thank our two dynamic presenters who we pressed into service. Rick and Byron, just really appreciate your time on this. Maggie Steer, who behind the scenes built much of today's program for us all. She's a colleague at the Preservation Alliance, as well as Pat Myers, Beverly Thomas, Nicole Flynn, Rebecca Howland, and Althea Barton, I know, is on the Zoom, is doing some work for us as well. 3 cheers to the selection committee. Again, Rick Farr, Rebecca Mitchell, who's also a board member, Laura Black from Division of Historical Resources, James Perkins, Chris Williams, former board member of ours, and also just a great shout out to the Preservation Alliance board that really helps us, sort of like a lot of these projects we've been hearing about, great on the strategy, great on the details, and great spirit of collaboration. It is Preservation Month, May, happy Preservation Month. We always say every month feels like Preservation Month in New Hampshire and across the state. We always look where we feel like every month is Preservation Month, but it's always great to have the excuse to help encourage people to invest more in these special places, encourage people to understand preservation strategies and preservation benefits that much better, and really try to bring new people to the preservation movement. There's lots going on in May and other months too. I wanted to call out our Old Building and Trades Fair, which is a couple weeks from now, May 14th at Sanborn Mills Farm. It'll be a really dynamic and enjoyable day. And we're here to help with ongoing coaching, educational programs like the one at Sanborn Mills, but many others, virtual and in person as well, grant making and many other services here at the Preservation Alliance. We'll be posting more about the awards on our website after this event. Feel free to share it with other colleagues and friends. We'll be making a little commemorative program available. And we really look forward to sharing your stories and hosting some local representations in the months ahead. And we'll be chasing down our award winners, either at those local representations or other times, to give them a framed award and continue the celebration, continue that storytelling of your great work, and continue the celebration.